independent film is alive in Bushwick. I'm very excited to announce that the 7th annual Bushwick Film Festival is almost here. The 4-day festival weekend is scheduled for October 2nd to the 5th and will take place in my absolute favorite neighborhood in New York, a place I call home, the artist and cultural utopia of Brooklyn. You guessed it, Bushwick. What's up, New York? Thank you for joining me once again on Indie Film Talk on Brooklyn Independent Media. I'm your host, Kwebe, founder and director of the Bushwick Film Festival. On October 2nd to the 5th, you can come on over to Bushwick and watch independent films, attend panels, catch a Cinema Talk series, spend the day at our new media interactive presented by NYU, and party with us at the opening night party at Lot 45 presented by Hotel BPM. Since I know you just can't wait till October, we've decided to bring you a sneak preview of what to expect at this year's festival. But first, big thank you to Slate Property Group, presenting sponsor, and our other sponsors, Hotel BPM, NYU Polytechnic School of Engineering, Brooklyn Fireproof, Brooklyn Desk, Village Voice, Rooftop Films, Sebastian Printing, Filmbot, Pearl Social and Billy Club, Montana's Trail House, World Own, Bushwick Daily, and Brooklyn Cooperative. And a shout out to our venues, Radio Bushwick, Lot 45, Montana's Trail House, and Light Space Studios. On today's show, we have 4 of our film directors here to tell you a little bit about their films and who they are as artists. So please join me in welcoming Benoit Cohen, director of the French film Tu seras un homme. You'll be a man in English. Benoit, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We have Jared Alton, director of the horror film Samuel's Game. Jared, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ray Klonsky, director of the high-profile documentary David and Me. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
For joining us. Sebastian Diaz, director of the short film Tonitas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That was a very long introduction, so we'll just jump right in. Ray, tell us about your documentary David and Me and how you met David.
Well, David and Me is about the story of my friendship with a man named David McCallum. Mm-hmm. David has spent 29 years incarcerated for a crime he did not commit in a New York State prison. Mm-hmm. And the film chronicles how we became friends. And then once we become friends and I start to believe in his innocence, mm-hmm. it chronicles the journey of a bunch of dedicated activists who are fighting for his freedom.
Okay. And how did you meet David?
I met David McCallum when he wrote to me. I don't want to give too much away because that's what the film's about.
Please
but
yeah.
Basically, my father wrote a letter to Reuben Hurricane Carter asking him to come speak at his high school class. Mm-hmm. Dr. Carter came. Mm-hmm. And from there, they became friends. My dad did an interview with Dr. Carter in a magazine mm-hmm. that David just happened to read. And fate would have it that David wrote to my dad. Wow. They started interacting, and then he eventually wrote to me.
Wow, that's amazing. Does David and his family live in Bushwick?
Yes, David's family still lives in Bushwick, and David was born and raised in Bushwick. So we're really honored to be screening at the Bushwick Film Festival. Yeah. It's a great privilege for us.
That's incredible. I can't wait for the community to come out to see this film. So let's just jump right into a trailer of David and Me.
My name is David McCallum. I've been incarcerated since I was 16 years old for a crime I didn't commit.
New York City in the mid-1980s, crime was at an all-time high. We wanted our city back.
He was saying that they had found a body in the park, and I said, "Officer, I don't know what you're talking about." And it was at that moment that he slapped me in my face.
People do falsely confess to crimes, particularly young teenagers.
These 2 teenagers had no chance with professional interrogators.
Dear Ray, I was around your age when I came to prison.
David's given him a sense of the value of his own life.
I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth for David. And if it means trying to find the killers 28 years later, then that's what we're gonna do.
Did you know any of the kids that worked here? No. If I said some names, you wouldn't know anyone?
Every single part of this whole thing is infuriating.
You don't know where he lives?
He's just... Give me that information.
That's a dead end.
There's always life and death struggles behind those walls. Any show of disrespect can mean your life.
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm more than this place, you know? And I'm not gonna let nobody take that from me.
When I watched that film, I was so moved by David's personality and the story. I know you can't get too much into it, but can you tell us a little bit about the case right now?
Yeah, certainly. So David's case is at a very critical point right now. There is obviously, well, not obviously, but there's a new DA in Brooklyn who's put a priority on wrongful convictions, and a lot of people have been getting out of jail and been released. And his case is in front of this board, whose job it is to review cases that they believe might have been wrongful convictions. A lot of it came from the same time in the 80s that David's case was a part of. So we're very hopeful that in the next couple months we'll get some positive news from the DA's office and we'll be able to film the real ending of our movie.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, so David and me at the festival, please guys go see it. I'm going to move over to Benoit. I mean, although your film really isn't about someone in prison, but I feel like your characters are self-imposed, like in a self-imposed prison. Can you tell us about You'll Be a Man and what the film is about?
The film is about a 10-year-old boy living alone in a very big house. His father is going to work every morning and coming back very late at night. His mother, we don't know where she is. We will learn it through the film. And so the father decided to ask a babysitter to come and take care of the kid. And this is a weird place, a weird family, and this babysitter is gonna help the whole family to find a new equilibrium. They're just like it's the story of a friendship between a boy and a teenager, and they're gonna help each other to get to the next step. The boy is gonna become a teenager, and the teenager is gonna become an adult, and they are gonna both help each other. That's mainly the story of that film, which is quite interesting with the way we did the film. I said we because I'm working with my wife, and we're writing together, and she's acting in my films. In this one, she's playing the mother of the boy, and it happens that the boy is our son. So it's a very family project, and the babysitter is a real babysitter for 2 years. So we started with that friendship that we really saw in real life, and then we built the fiction part, all the relationship between him and his parents and the whole thing.
Wow, that's so interesting to know. Like knowing, watching that film, knowing that the main woman is your wife and that's your actual son. That's pretty amazing. He's a great actor.
I think so, but I'm really not the best person to.
Because that's your son. It's quite a beautiful film, and it's been traveled all over. And how are the audiences receiving it?
Actually, you know, the funny thing is that when we released the film in theaters in France, like 1 year ago, it wasn't really getting really well. I mean, we had a small distribution and no festivals in France, and so I started to send it to American independent film festivals because I heard that there were very interesting ones, and it became crazy. I mean, it went to so many of them, like more than 60 of them, all around the country.
Wow.
So I couldn't, unfortunately, go to all of them, but I went to Alaska, Arizona, Dakota. I mean, it was really a fantastic adventure, and I met so nice people, and people were really enthusiastic with the film. So then we decided to move where people like our film, so we decided to move to New York, I mean to Brooklyn actually, and we just moved to Brooklyn like 1 month ago, like few blocks from here.
Wow, well, I'm glad that you're here at the show. You know, a funny story, when Benoit moved to Brooklyn, I think like you said, a month ago, he walked by the festival's office, and that's how we got the connection.
Yeah,
That's pretty
because
funny.
usually I was getting to the festival through internet, but
Yeah.
I was just walking in Bushwick, like wandering around, and I saw your office, and I said, let's walk in, and you know, but this kind of thing would never happen in France. I mean, you just walk in an office and say, I have a film for you, I can send you a link. I mean, no way. So that's what I like with your country.
Wow, that's so amazing that the film brought you here.
Yeah, that's really how a film, even a small independent film, can change your life.
Yeah. So I'm going to move over to Sebastian. And Sebastian, I know your film, you said it's a love letter for Nuyorican music.
Culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So, what made you create a love letter to the culture?
Well, the co-director Beisa Boyolu and myself started to work on a project in the south side of Williamsburg because we started doing a residency program for documentary in a place called Union Docks, which is located in the south side of Williamsburg. So exploring the area for this residency, we stumbled upon this place, this club, this Puerto Rican social club, which is the last standing Puerto Rican social club in a neighborhood that has a heritage for a lot of large Puerto Rican community. And so we were just fascinated by what the atmosphere of the place, the liveliness of its people, what was going on there. And it was actually pretty warm to receiving us, even though we felt so foreign. You know, I'm from Mexico, Beisa is Turkish. But we just started to hang out there. We were not necessarily thinking at the beginning of doing a film about the place. We just enjoyed being there.
Yeah.
And so eventually, you know, we realized we had gained friendship and access to the place and people. And also because it's the last one remaining, where there used to be many of such clubs in the past, we felt that it was important to document it. And you know, the part of the love letter to Nuyorican culture is just because we wanted to celebrate all these things that we were fascinated by, as far as like the music, the dancing, the food, the way they speak. It's something that we truly love.
Great. Let's just take a quick look at the trailer before we go on to the next question.
There, dancing is natural. Like you eat, you drink, you dance. That's just what Caribbean is.
One of the most iconic clubs that will never, ever be repeated.
Bailita del corazón, Ramón, la islita de mis amores. Yo me voy pa' Puerto Rico vendiendo vaso en colores. Allá en el mercado me encontré a Maya con su toalla.
And it's like family, you know. This is home for everybody. And everybody knows her. I'll take a bullet for her.
El club es como decir, como un hobby.
Pero ella le da servicio a la comunidad, porque ella quiere conservar su rincón latino, boricua sobre todo. Tremenda persona.
Yo me voy pa' Puerto Rico vendiendo vaso en colores.
That was the trailer for Tonitas, directed by Sebastian Diaz. What did you discover in the process of shooting this film?
Something that surprised us was the reaction of people to the changes of South Williamsburg, Brooklyn, because we came in starting to talk with people and ask them about the changes of displacement and, you know, all this new wave of people coming in. And at the beginning, the first reaction was very positive, to our surprise, you know. But as we dug deeper and started to ask more about this complex situation, then we started to see those mixed feelings emerge, because there's a lot of community that has also been, you know, kind of washed out on this process. And so that's definitely something that, even though we did not set ourselves to do a film that is very obvious about that, it was definitely something that we tried to portray, these mixed feelings of the characters, of the people there. And, you know, something that we learned also is that this problem is larger than just the south side of Williamsburg. It's definitely larger across all Brooklyn, and I could say even many parts in the world. And it's very complex, but a thing that we believe is that is very unfortunate and very true, as far as I believe, is that there's community that is being lost. So it's not just so much about like people being pushed out, but that community is not being, I guess, taken, considered as much as it should.
That's interesting you say that, because currently we are interviewing a few people in Bushwick about just like their lives and their process of, you know, the neighborhood changing, and we're at the first stages, and we are seeing that people are liking the new change because it's safer and it brings more business. But I'm interested to know, like, maybe further down the road we might start seeing the mixed feelings.
Right.
So we're just in Brooklyn right now, right? So let's go to Jarrett. Jarrett, your film is also shot in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It is a feature horror film called Samuel's Game. Can you please let us know a little bit about what made you decide to shoot a horror film? Are you know, is your background in horror film classics, or is this your first?
Well, I think the first film I wanted to make really, I wanted to go after something that I grew up watching, and those were horror films and science fiction movies and all sorts of genres. I'm a big fan of, you know, just classic film directors. I love watching movies, especially from the 70s and the 80s era. From Ridley Scott to Stanley Kubrick to John Carpenter to all these American and foreign directors that made very visual films and horror films. Ultimately, I knew my first feature was going to focus around Bushwick and Brooklyn because that's what gave me the idea. The building I actually live in is the focus of the movie. A turn-of-the-century building, 1927. After I did all the research, a lot of the stories started developing from there. And mostly I was interested in telling a ghost story. Instead of focusing on gore and effects and kind of, you see in a lot of modern horror movies, just an over-excessiveness of that, I was trying to focus more on suspense and psychological thriller and aspects behind a horror film that I find truly scary. At least, you know, characters and ghosts that are in the dark and what's lurking behind that corner, I find more interesting than, you know, violent horror movies that are just in your face, kind of. So that was a major influence, and the neighborhood around me definitely influenced me to make it.
So the film was actually shot in Bushwick too?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that. I wasn't too sure if it was in Bushwick or like further out. I couldn't quite figure that out.
I would say we shot about 80% of the film in Bushwick itself. We also shot in Manhattan for a number of days. We shot in downtown Brooklyn also at the Transit Museum, which was an amazing location to shoot at. Probably the most stressful day of my life, but it was amazing. With so many extras and just being able to shoot on old trains. You know, my film has a lot to do with the history of what happened in the building and the events around it. So I guess I can say we tried to shoot the past in certain scenes. And as I say, the Transit Museum was a wonderful place to shoot. I guess that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, we shot all around Brooklyn. It's truly, you know, a feature that we shot in Brooklyn. So.
Cool. I really felt what you were just saying about an ode to the classic horror films. When I watched the film, I had the feeling of like The Omen. Like I was completely terrified of not knowing. I won't say it anymore, but yeah, I thought of The Omen when I was watching some of the scenes.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's a good movie. So I mean, truly, you know, sometimes I feel like I want to make films a little more like filmmakers of those eras. You know, we really tried to focus on doing optical effects instead of digital effects. You know, we focused on using camera techniques that were used more in the 70s and 80s. It's just my favorite era of movies. So we really tried to get that style.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a really scary film.
Thank you.
I'm going to open it up a little bit. Just wanted to go around the room and find out what was one of the difficult moments of shooting David and Me? I mean, it's a very difficult film, very emotional. Like while I watched it, I was, a emotional roller coaster, and I can't imagine what it's like to actually be friends, close friends with David, and have it. And I think I'm giving a little bit away too much. But what was the most difficult moment?
Well, there was a lot of difficult moments shooting this movie. Getting access to David was actually not that difficult once we had proper backing.
Okay.
But I would say that getting access to the people, other people, ancillary people involved in the story, the family of the victim, the person he was convicted with also passed away, unfortunately. So that family, and you realize, the true scope of a tragedy. When somebody goes to prison for a crime they didn't commit, it's not just them and their family that's affected. It's the victim's family who doesn't have justice. It's, all these other people, all this whole circle of people who are forever tied together by this, traumatic experience, and trying to sort of break through and convince them that, we're just trying to be objective and we're not going to make you look bad. That was very difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I can't imagine, but I can imagine it being difficult. Benoit, what is it like shooting in France? I mean, does the government support French filmmakers a lot in the funding process, or?
Yeah, the government support movies much more than anywhere else. The problem is that nowadays they are always the same kind of movies, and now you start to have just two kinds of movies in France. It's author film, who are really supported by the government, and big comedies with very known actors. And in between those two kind of film, it's really difficult to, and most of the time when you do one kind of film, it's very difficult to, for example, 10 years ago I did a comedy which was a great success in France, and for 10 years people were just asking for comedies, so I wanted to do a thriller, and it was really difficult to convince people that I could do something different. So that's why I like the idea of coming here, trying to do movies here. I know it's more difficult because you don't have this system of financing film, but at the same time, when you come from the outside, arriving in that country, you feel that there are more opportunities to do whatever you want, and then it's going to be perhaps more difficult, but you can try at least. And when you meet people, they are enthusiastic. And in France, when you get to a meeting, they just kind of say no before you start speaking. So and filmmaking in France is getting tough, and then it's not it's I mean, we do more movies than all other countries in Europe, but it's not so idealistic. I mean, it's quite it's difficult also.
Well, Sebastian, have you only shot in the States? Have you shot any films in Mexico?
Yeah, I have actually. I'm originally from Mexico, so I have shot in Mexico as well, a couple of projects. And but for Toñitas, we only shot it in New York City.
And you've only screened in
No, actually, we screened it in Turkey, in Istanbul, where Beyza Boyayolu, the co-director, is from. And we've also screened at other festivals here. We had our premiere at MoMA Documentary Fortnight, which was pretty amazing for us. And we're super stoked to be part of the Bushwick Film Festival, for
Good
sure.
job.
And what was I going to say? Oh, I wanted to say that we're really proud of this project, and we're really proud to have this project be part of a larger project called Leaving Los Sures by Union Dogs. They've been working for 4 years, and the end of this month, it's going to be the launch of the project. So keep an eye for Leaving Los Sures by Union Dogs.
Oh, that's amazing. That must be so exciting for you.
For sure.
Yeah. So, Jarrett, we only have a few minutes left, so keep that in mind. What are your plans for Samuel's Game after Bushwick?
Well, really, Bushwick is the beginning of the festival process for us. We're also showing it at Coney Island Film Festival. At this point, we've submitted it to 30, 40 film festivals, and we are waiting back on those. Internationally, we're looking even in Asia, South Korea, and Japan, just because culturally, I think, you know, ghost stories do well over there, actually. But we're really, the sky is open for us. We are trying to submit it and get it out there now, so.
Okay, that's so exciting. And thank you so much for starting your journey with us.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. We're going to close in a few minutes, and if you can each tell our audience how they could stay in touch with you after the festival, that would be great, starting with Sebastian.
Sure. We have a website for the documentary. It's tonitasdocumentary.com, and you can watch the trailer there and then link up to the Facebook page as well.
Great. And Ray, how do we follow this story?
You can log into our Facebook, facebook.com/DavidandMeMovie. We have a website, davidandme.com, and you know, people can keep up to date with the case. We're giving regular updates on screenings as well as with the case.
That's great. Benoit?
Yeah, we also have a Facebook. It's Tu seras un homme. You have to find the right. But yeah, it's on Facebook. We go on Facebook and answer every question and everything. So the best thing is to go on Facebook.
Sounds great.
Same thing, Facebook. Facebook is kind of our main production site where you see all the behind the screen stills. And we also have a website at theauroraimages.com. That's the production company I started to start producing work. So
that's so interesting. Facebook is the main site for for things now. All right, looks like our time is up, but don't worry, you can join our guests at this year's Bushwick Film Festival, October 2nd to 5th. We'll see you at the festival.